Aaron, I'm going to compare your swing to Grant Waite, who was a tour player during the 90s and considered having one of the best swings in golf. He is now one of the top instructors of tour players. I'm going to begin at the most important position, and that's the impact position. Everything the ball does, how far it goes, how high it goes, how much it spins and curves, is all determined by the laws of physics and motion that exist at the moment of impact. It is the club's position that creates those laws of physics. The thing that determines the club's position at impact is the body's position at impact. And everything the body does before impact has the sole purpose of arriving at a fundamentally sound impact position. The central objective of impact is to be able to transfer the maximum amount of your club speed to the ball so that you have maximum amount of ball speed coming off the face of the club. To do that, you must hit the ball with the sweet spot of the club before you hit the ground. So you're always going to be hitting the ball and then the ground. To achieve that, you must hit down on the golf ball so that you hit the ball before the ground. You need to have the low point of your swing in front of the golf ball. The pros achieve this in two main ways. First, they make sure that the majority of their weight is on their left side at impact. The average pro will have 85% of their weight on their left foot at the moment of impact. When you look at the red line leading up from Grant's left foot, it passes right through his belt buckle. So he clearly has the majority of his weight on his left side. You have more weight on your left side than your right, but it would be better to have even more than this. You need to have a little bit more of your weight on top of that left foot at impact. The second thing the pros do is they make sure that their hands are in front of the ball at the moment of impact. I've drawn a blue arrow down to the ground from Grant's hands, and you can see how his hands are in front of the golf ball. The red line is the shaft of his club, and so he has a shaft lean towards the target. This allows him to hit down into the ball. Your shaft is almost vertical. It's slightly forward, but it's a little bit too vertical, and that means you're going to be coming into the ball a little bit more shallow, and this is going to create a percentage of times that you hit the ball fat and thin. So to improve your contact and be more consistently solid, you would need to hit down a little bit more, which would require you to get more weight on your left side so that you can have your hands also more in front of the ball. Now let's look at some of the other positions prior to impact that may be influencing your impact position. In the one position, the setup, Grant sets up with a little bit more weight on his left side. This gives him a little bit of a mini impact feeling before he begins the swing. You're sitting back in your right side a little bit. You have actually more weight on your right side than you do your left side. What this does is puts your low point of your swing behind the golf ball. This adds a complexity to the golf swing because now you have to move your golf circle forward so that the low point is in front of the ball at impact. Grant has preset his low point in front of the ball and does not have to move it in front of the ball during the swing. Now we're going to begin the backswing, and watch how Grant stays on his left side as he takes it back. This is the 3 position when the left arm is parallel to the ground. And when Grant gets to the 3 position, he still has more weight on his left side than he does his right side. This is a stable axis golf swing, and the axis is around the left side. You actually move even further to the right, moving your low point further to the right. So you're going to have a much more difficult time of getting your low point in front of that golf ball before you hit it. Now I'm going to move from the 3 position down to the golf ball. And watch Grant first as he takes it up and then drives even further to the left. Up, drive to the left. Up and drive to the left. And so he is driving even further with his body towards the target in the downswing. And when he gets to the 5 position, where the left arm is parallel to the ground on the downswing, he's even further forward. Now we look at your setup. Now you make a similar move to Grant in that you drive to the target. You drive to the target. You have a nice extension in your left arm. But the difference is, because you started this move from so far back, you're not going to get caught up in time to be in a correct position at impact. The other difference that Grant has in his swing than yours is his wrist action through impact. I've stopped both your hands and Grant's hands when the left hand got it directly in front of the right thigh. And I've drawn the red line where the shaft is at that moment. Grant still has a good angle in the shaft and the left arm. So he still has his hands loaded and ready to unload into the golf ball. At the top of the backswing, you had your hands loaded and ready to unload them into the golf ball at impact. But on the way down, you cast the club out a little bit and you lost that angle. And when you lose that angle, you lose the energy that you've loaded. And so by the time you get to this position, you don't have anything left in your hands to hit the ball with. And so I'm now going to move Grant through impact and stop the frame when his hands reach the left thigh. Right about there. So Grant now has his club here. His club traveled from this point to this point during at impact. I'm now going to move your club until your hands are in front of the thigh. And your club traveled a much shorter distance through impact. And so Grant is going to have a lot more power and club speed, even though his hands aren't going to necessarily move any faster than yours through impact, simply because the action he's doing in his wrist, he's able to use those wrist actions to help deliver the club head into the golf ball from a greater span of distance. Here we are in the 9th position. This is when the right arm is parallel to the ground. And Grant has a straight right arm and a straight left arm. His wrists are crossed. It's also important to point out that Grant's left hand is underneath the right hand and his elbows are close together. So look at your swing. When your right arm is straight, your left hand is still above the right hand. And you are, this elbow is hard to see from this camera angle, but this elbow is actually quite a bit bent and it's separating from the right elbow. They're not close to each other. Now the biggest difference that's causing that is you can see how Grant's right hip pocket, his front pocket here, is right on top of this foot. So he has turned his hips. His hips are in the process of almost being facing the target. And your back pocket is still hanging back a little bit. Grant's right hip, his right thigh, his right knee, everything is driving towards to being on top of his left foot. And your right hip and right knee are quite a bit further back from your left foot. Well, Aaron, you have a good solid foundation of fundamentals to build on. I would add to your fundamentals now. In the backswing, you want to stabilize the axis off your left side. So you want to set up and have a strong feeling of being on your left side, and you want to stay there during your backswing and not move to the right. There is no value in moving to the right when you know at impact you have to have that low point in front of the golf ball. So staying on the left side during your backswing will be the first thing that I would work on. And I work on some drills where you're simply moving correctly from position 1 to position 3. The only other thing is to work on the correct action in your wrist and timing of when the appropriate time is to unload and unhinge the wrist to deliver the club head into the golf ball. So you want to do what we call delay the hit